On September 26, 1960, a TV technician in a Chicago studio flipped a switch, and American politics never fully recovered. It was the first televised presidential debate in history, Kennedy versus Nixon. Nixon had just gotten out of the hospital. He was pale, sweating under the studio lights, refusing makeup out of pride. Kennedy was tanned, rested, and sat completely still, letting the camera do the work for him. People who listened on the radio that night walked away thinking Nixon had won on substance. People who watched on television walked away thinking Kennedy had won, and they weren't reacting to a single policy point. They were reacting to posture, stillness, the shape of a jaw under studio light, things that have nothing to do with what either man actually said. That gap between the radio result and the TV result is basically the entire subject of this list. Charisma isn't what you say. It's a stack of specific, learnable signals most people never learn to control, because nobody ever taught them the signals existed in the first place. I ranked these 10 books by how much they actually change what you do the next time you walk into a room, not by how many copies they sold. And for each one, I'm going to break down the actual ideas inside. Not just the title and a one-line summary. And the number 1 pick isn't a book about charisma at all. Number 10. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Carnegie's core argument, built from the public speaking courses he ran during the Depression and decades spent studying salesmen, executives, and everyday people who could walk into a room full of strangers and leave with allies, is that charisma has almost nothing to do with being clever or interesting. It comes down to the discipline of making the other person feel like the most important person in the conversation. His key concept is the 6 ways to make people like you. Become genuinely interested in other people. Smile. Remember and use a person's name. Be a good listener and encourage others to talk about themselves. Talk in terms of the other person's interests. Make the other person feel important, and do it sincerely. A concrete example he gives. Carnegie describes Jim Farley, a man who could reportedly recall the first names of 50,000 people, using that single skill to run Franklin Roosevelt's campaign and build a network of loyal contacts most politicians would spend a lifetime failing to assemble. Farley didn't out-argue anyone or dazzle a single room, he just made thousands of individual people feel remembered, and Carnegie argues that alone was worth more than charm. Link to grab this one is in the description, timestamped below. Number 9. The Like Switch by Jack Schafer. Schafer's core argument, built from his career as an FBI counterintelligence agent trained to get hostile foreign assets to trust and like him inside minutes, is that liking someone follows a predictable formula almost nobody is consciously aware of, and once you can see the formula you can trigger it on purpose instead of hoping it happens by accident. His key concept is the friendship formula. Proximity, simply being physically near someone repeatedly. Frequency, how often that contact happens. Duration, how long each contact lasts. Intensity, how much a specific interaction satisfies the other person's psychological or emotional needs. And Schafer argues intensity is the only lever you can pull instantly, the other 3 usually take time to build. A concrete example he gives. Schafer describes using a simple eyebrow flash, tilting his head slightly, and briefly exposing his palms to signal non-threat within the first few seconds of approaching a foreign intelligence target, the same non-verbal cues strangers use to signal safety to each other without ever noticing they're doing it. He recruited assets this way before a single meaningful word had been exchanged, because the body had already decided whether to trust him. What makes this book different from How to Win Friends is that Carnegie is teaching what to say and how to make someone feel valued through conversation, while Schafer is working a full layer below language, the non-verbal signals that decide whether a person is even open to listening to what you say next. Link is in the description. Number 8. What Everybody is Saying by Joe Navarro. Navarro's core argument, built from 25 years as an FBI counterintelligence and behavioral analysis specialist trained to spot deception and discomfort in real interrogations, is that the body leaks a person's true emotional state constantly through small, involuntary movements, and someone who learns to read those signals in others can also learn to control them in themselves. His key concept is comfort versus discomfort displays. The limbic brain reacts to a threat or a lie milliseconds before the conscious mind can suppress it, producing pacifying behaviors, touching the neck, rubbing the forehead, that leak discomfort even while the mouth keeps talking smoothly. And Navarro argues genuine charisma partly comes from eliminating your own pacifying tells while learning to project calm, open, comfortable body language even under real pressure. A concrete example he gives. Navarro describes interviewing Ana Mantes, a Cuban spy operating undetected inside US intelligence for over a decade, and noticing her feet, normally still during friendly conversation, angled toward the exit the moment questioning turned uncomfortable. Her face and voice stayed composed the entire time, only her feet, the body part people monitor least, gave away what she actually wanted to do in that moment. What makes this book different from the like switch is that Schafer is teaching you which signals to send to make someone like you, while Navarro is teaching you to read the signals a person can't consciously control at all, including your own. Links in the description. Number 7. Presence by Amy Cuddy. Cuddy's core argument, built from her own recovery from a traumatic brain injury and years of research as a Harvard Business School psychologist studying body language and power, is that charisma isn't primarily about impressing other people at all. It's about first convincing your own body and brain that you belong in the room, because everyone else can sense the gap when you don't. Her key concept is power posing and psychological presence. Expansive postures, standing tall, taking up space, hands on hips, shift a person's own hormone levels and felt sense of confidence before they even open their mouth. And Cuddy argues true presence means the alignment of what you think, feel, and do lining up. Faking confidence isn't the goal, borrowing it from your posture long enough to actually feel it is. A concrete example she gives. Cuddy describes recovering from a severe head injury that dropped her IQ and left her doubting she belonged at Princeton at all, then years later coaching a student who felt like a total fraud before a make-or-break class presentation to spend 2 minutes in an expansive posture alone beforehand. That student walked in and was mistaken by classmates for one of the most confident people in the room, not because the content changed, but because her body had already convinced her brain she was allowed to take up space. What makes this book different from what everybody is saying is that Navarro is teaching you to read discomfort signals in someone else, while Cuddy is teaching you to physically manufacture the opposite state in yourself before you ever walk through the door. Link is in the description. Number 6. Talk Like TED by Carmine Gallo. Gallo's core argument, built from analyzing hundreds of the most watched TED Talks ever recorded and interviewing the speakers behind them, is that captivating an audience isn't about natural stage presence at all. It's a repeatable structure the most magnetic speakers use again and again, whether or not they'd call themselves naturally charismatic. His key concept is the emotional, novel, and memorable framework. Emotional, opening with a personal story or stakes the audience can feel before a single fact is presented. Novel, delivering at least one piece of information the audience has genuinely never encountered before. Memorable, repeating a short, quotable phrase enough times that it survives long after the talk ends. And Gallo argues most forgettable talks are missing at least one of these three, usually the emotional opening. A concrete example he gives. Gallo breaks down neuroanatomist Jill Bolt Taylor's talk about experiencing her own stroke in real time, opening not with data about the brain but with the visceral, personal horror of watching her own cognitive functions shut down one by one. That talk became one of the most watched in TED's history, and Gallo argues it worked because the science came wrapped inside a story the audience felt in their own body before they ever had to think about it. What makes this book different from Presence is that Cuddy is about the internal state a person carries into a room, while Gallo is about the external structure of the specific message that state gets poured into once you're already standing in front of people. Links in the description. Number 5. The Charisma Myth by Olivia Fox Cabane. Cabane's core argument, built from her work coaching executives at Google, the World Economic Forum, and the US Army, is that charisma isn't a personality trait some people are simply born with, it's a set of specific behaviors that can be switched on and off, which is exactly why the same person can feel wildly charismatic in one meeting and completely invisible in the next. Her key concept is presence, Power and warmth. Presence, being fully mentally there instead of distracted, which people register as attentiveness even if you say very little. Power, the perceived ability to affect the world around you, signaled through stillness and unhurried movement. Warmth, the perceived intention to use that power in the other person's favor, signaled through genuine eye contact and matched body language. And Cobain argues charisma spikes the moment presence, power, and warmth are all switched on at the same time, and anyone missing makes the whole effect collapse. A concrete example she gives. Cobain describes a client mentally rehearsing physical discomfort, imagining wiggling his toes inside his shoes, right before a high-stakes meeting, a small trick that pulls the mind fully back into the present body instead of spiraling into anxious thoughts about how the meeting might go. Observers in the room consistently rated him as noticeably warmer and more present in that state, without him changing a single word of what he actually said. What makes this book different from Talk Like TED is that Gallo is optimizing a prepared message for a stage, while Cobain is optimizing the moment-to-moment presence you carry into any room, prepared talk or not. Link is in the description. Number 4. Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards. Van Edwards' core argument, built from running a self-described human lab that analyzes hours of recorded interactions and body language data, is that social skills, including charisma, aren't an art at all, they're a science with measurable patterns, and someone willing to treat people the way a behavioral scientist would can hack their way to likability even if they were the awkward kid in every classroom growing up. Her key concept is the triangle of trust. Warmth and competence, the two axes people unconsciously judge a stranger on within seconds. Warmth signals I mean you no harm, competence signals I am capable of following through. And Van Edwards argues most people over-index on demonstrating competence, when unlocking warmth first is usually what actually opens the door to being liked at all. A concrete example she gives. Van Edwards' team analyzed hundreds of TED Talks and found the amount of hand gesturing a speaker used correlated directly with how many total views that talk eventually received. Speakers who gestured the most averaged roughly twice the views of speakers who kept their hands still. She argues visible, animated hands read as a warmth and honesty signal, since hidden hands unconsciously trigger the same suspicion they did when hidden hands might once have meant a hidden weapon. What makes this book different from the charisma myth is that Cobain is teaching an internal mental state to cultivate, while Van Edwards is handing over specific, testable external behaviors, hand position, word choice, entrance timing, that can be measured and adjusted like a science experiment. Links in the description. Number 3. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Voss's core argument, built from his career as the FBI's lead international kidnapping negotiator, talking gunmen and hostage-takers into standing down without a shot fired, is that influence isn't won by out-arguing someone or having the stronger logic, it's won by making the other person feel deeply, accurately understood, because a person who feels understood stops needing to fight you to be heard. His key concept is tactical empathy. Mirroring, repeating the last few words someone said back to them, which unconsciously invites them to keep talking and elaborate. Labeling, naming the emotion you sense in the other person out loud, it sounds like you're worried about, without judging it. Calibrated questions, open questions starting with what or how that let the other side solve your problem for you, rather than backing them into a corner. And Voss argues these tools work identically whether you're negotiating with a kidnapper or a coworker, because the underlying human need to feel heard doesn't change with the stakes. A concrete example he gives. Voss describes the Chase Manhattan bank robbery standoff, where gunmen inside the bank were refusing to release hostages, and instead of issuing ultimatums, Voss's team used labeling and mirroring over the phone to slowly walk the gunman's own emotional state down until they released hostages voluntarily. Nobody outsmarted the gunman, they simply felt heard enough to stop needing to hold on to control by force. What makes this book different from Captivate is that Van Edwards is optimizing the first few seconds of a new interaction to spark liking, while Voss is operating deep inside high-stakes, adversarial conversations where the other person may actively distrust you before you've said a word. Link is in the description. Number 2. Influence by Robert Cialdini. Cialdini's core argument, built from 3 years going undercover in sales training programs, telemarketing floors, and fundraising operations to study persuasion professionals in the wild, is that most people say yes to a request not because they weighed the actual arguments, but because one of a small handful of automatic psychological triggers fired without them noticing. His key concept is the 6 principles of persuasion. Reciprocity: people feel obligated to return a favor, even a small, unrequested one. Commitment and consistency: once someone makes a small public commitment, they feel pressure to act consistently with it later. Social proof: people look to what others are already doing to decide what's correct, especially under uncertainty. Liking: people say yes more easily to people they like, which is why compliments and similarity work even when both parties know they're being used. Authority: people defer to perceived experts and symbols of authority, often without questioning the claim itself. Scarcity: people want something more the instant it seems limited or about to disappear. And Cialdini argues these triggers evolved as useful mental shortcuts, and the people who understand them can either exploit them or defend against them, but almost nobody can simply ignore them. A concrete example he gives. Cialdini cites a study where people cutting in line to use a copy machine were far more likely to be allowed through when they gave any reason at all, even a meaningless one like "because I have to make copies," compared to giving no reason whatsoever. The actual content of the reason barely mattered, the mere presence of the word "because" was enough to trigger automatic compliance in most people standing in that line. What makes this book different from Never Split the Difference is that Voss is showing you how to make one specific person in front of you feel deeply understood, while Cialdini is exposing the automatic mental shortcuts that fire inside almost anyone, in bulk, whether or not you ever learn their name. Links in the description. And number 1. Impro by Keith Johnston. Unlike every other book on this list, this one isn't a book about charisma at all. It's a manual for improvisational theater, built from Johnston's decades training actors to walk on stage with nothing scripted and instantly command a room. Johnston's central claim is that charisma was never really about being likable at all, it's about status, and every single social interaction, whether either person notices it or not, is a small negotiation over who is playing high status and who is playing low in that exact moment. His key concept is status transactions. Status isn't the same as social rank, it's a behavior, physical stillness, slow speech, holding eye contact, that anyone can raise or lower at will regardless of their actual job title or wealth. The most likable people in a room are rarely the ones locked into constantly playing high status, they're the ones skilled enough to move fluidly between high and low depending on what the moment actually calls for. And Johnston argues that everything the other 9 books on this list are separately teaching, warmth, presence, tactical empathy, persuasion triggers, are really just different tools for consciously controlling this one underlying status dial most people operate blind to their entire lives. A concrete example he returns to. Johnston has actors walk across an empty stage and simply raise or lower their status through nothing but posture, pacing, and stillness, no dialogue, no plot, and audiences instantly and unanimously read one actor as the boss and the other as the assistant, despite identical costumes and 0 spoken lines. The same actor, asked to walk the exact same path while only changing how they held their head and how quickly they moved, could flip that entire audience judgment in seconds. What makes this book the definitive number 1 on this list is that every other title here is teaching you how to send a specific, isolated signal: warmth, competence, calm, trust. Johnston is exposing the single underlying dial all of those signals are actually turning, the one thing every charismatic person in history has been unconsciously adjusting since long before any of these books existed. Link is in the description. The number 1 pick proves something simple. A method can hand you a specific signal to send in a specific moment: a smile, a mirrored phrase, an open hand. Only an understanding of the status dial underneath all of it tells you whether you're actually building charisma, or just memorizing a script for one situation while staying blind in every other room you ever walk into. Which of these have you read, and which one changed how you think about charisma? Drop it in the comments. This is Toon Review, now go be rare. Go be a golden black llama. See you in the next video.